Forbes versus DY, country versus city, tree change and sea change. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it right now.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak. We've got two special guests back again. We have Michael and Michelle from Michael Robinson & Co. Real Estate in Forbes, Countryside, New South Wales. Lucky to have you guys back. We did an earlier episode, which I'll put on the link, which feels like a lifetime ago, but it was August last year, where we sort of really touched on the lifestyle shifts we were seeing, especially from the beginning of the pandemic, where people are like, well, if I don't have to be in the city for my office, where else can I work? And we're seeing a sea change, tree change sort of vibe. So it's insane to think of it. We're a year and a half into this whole craziness, and we thought it'd be great to have you back on the show to talk about what's new. Did things plan out how you thought, or the patterns you saw in August last year? Industry's doing well, and also maybe a bit more on the technical side. Who can see properties? When can you see properties? What type of restrictions you do or do not have on the environment? So if anyone's New South Wales, Northern Beaches looking to contact you for that, what can they expect? Because I think it's different for investors to owner occupiers. So good to have you all on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
No problem. So Michelle, catch us up on the last 8 months.
Okay. I think like everywhere in real estate, absolutely mad. So everyone was a little nervous when COVID first, hit our shores, I guess, but it's been incredible out here as well. We've been so busy. I guess like everywhere, we're also lacking listings. So we're chasing listings. Selling them is not a problem. It's get their hands on them is the problem.
So listing volume is down. Are you getting, I think some people it feels like listings are down, but if you look at year to date, more properties are selling, but time on market is half, so it's lower. Are you seeing, because I know in commercial, we've got a lot less listings where compared to residential, the stock levels are lower on realestate.com because they're selling in 12 days, not 30. But if you look at the amount of deals being done, it's 20% higher. Where do you fit?
So, look, once upon a time, a high-end property, it could sit here for 12 months. And look, you're lucky to see them sit there for 6 weeks at the moment. So anything that comes on that's priced right is gone. So it's a very much, there's plenty of buyers out there at the moment. So we're just, always encouraging people to sort of list their properties and strike while the iron's hot.
And that price difference in the last sort of 12 months to 2 years, so you're saying it would be on the market for 12 months, and now it'll sell for 6 weeks. Is that for the same price it would have sold but taken less time, or are you seeing a 10%, 30% bump?
We're talking about the big lifestyle properties. Once upon a time, they were a little bit tougher to move, but definitely not now. And yes, they are definitely getting much better prices because of that demand's there.
And what size block's that? Just to put in perspective to us from the Northern Beaches, used to 500 square metres.
Yeah, 2.5 acres. Yeah, so they're the big ones. Yeah. But your little run-of-the-mill everyday property between that 350, 450 can move them no problems at all very quickly.
Awesome. Michael, off air, you were just telling us before about the difference in between how you can show properties, when you can show property, and you actually need to qualify owner, occupier, investor because it's different. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, look, if you're in regional New South Wales, you can travel within regional New South Wales and come and inspect a residential property one-on-one. If you're coming from the Sydney metropolitan area, you need a passport to get out of Sydney to inspect properties in regional New South Wales, and you can only inspect a property that you're going to live in, so it's a residence that you're going to occupy. Commercial or investment properties you can't inspect at the moment. Now, the Department of Health are changing the rules nearly every day, so you've got to really keep abreast of it because agents have been fined for going from one area to another area thinking they're doing the right thing, but they've changed the rules the day before. So it's something that people really need to look at. In our office, we've got a Matterport camera, we've got videos and all sorts of technological things. So we can go and do a view. You can view a house online basically without doing a physical inspection, which is nearly as good. And as a matter of fact, last week we had a valuer who was to come up and do a valuation of the property before exchange. He got on, had a look at our shots. He said, look, there's no need for me to come up and have a look. I can do the valuation, fill the report out, and everything will be fine without doing a physical inspection. So that can be done. Most of our buyers in the last 12 months have been local people, which has been good. And, you know, as Michelle said, they hit the market within 4 or 5 days. A lot of them, if they're priced correctly, they sell straight away, and there's multiple buyers. So the prices have definitely gone up in the last 12 months, probably 20 to 25%. And
Wow.
like everywhere in New South Wales, a shortage of stock.
And locals, what are they doing? Are they buying bigger homes? Are they buying newer homes? What's the local move?
Well, Michael, a lot of, you know, real estate is a great thing, a great industry to be in because, you know, people do go from a larger, as they get older, a larger property to a smaller property, or with a growing family, they go from a smaller property to a larger property. Unfortunately, some people pass on, so there's, you know, deceased estate sales. There's not very many people going into liquidation these days or anything like that. But and then you get people that are coming into the area for work with government jobs, semi-government jobs, and industry in Forbes. So they're boosting the market, and you also get a few people that leave the town to go somewhere else to get another job somewhere else. So it's a bit like a merry-go-round. Of course, as you fellas would know, people get on, they find a property, they get off for a year or two, and then they change their mind. And Michelle said they might want to go for a lifestyle block between 1 and 2 hectares, or 2.5 or 5 acres. So they leave the town boundary, go on the edge of town, and then after a year or two, children grow up. They're sick of the motorbikes, they're sick of mowing the lawns, and think, well, let's get out of the larger lifestyle property and let's get back to town. So generally, properties move around quite well here, and as everybody knows, finance is easily obtainable today, low interest rates. So it's a bit like going down buying a newspaper or a second-hand car. It's pretty easy to do to change properties, not like it was 30 or 40 years ago.
Mm.
How are jobs going there? So if someone was to move to Forbes, for instance, and I think you mentioned before, there's a bit more sort of industry coming to town.
Look, Mark, there's plenty of employment around. I mean, we've got a very good employment with the education industry in Forbes. We've got a lot of large schools, primary and high schools, as well as Forbes Shire Council, that employ a lot of people coming into the area. They always seem to be advertising for staff, pre-COVID, but especially in the last 12 months, a lot of industries in town that are, I suppose, rural-based, that are welding businesses. We've got a big business called HE Silos that build, obviously, grain silos. They're always looking for welders and production workers, the same as fellows that build sheds and general engineers. They're the same. Look, there's businesses that are haulage businesses. They're always looking for truck drivers. So really, if you want a job from a waitress up to a senior position in Forbes Shire Council, there always seems to be positions available. And, you know, it's like everywhere in Australia. I think it's very, very difficult to fill those positions with competent staff. So plenty of employment and, you know, obviously a great place to live.
Because I got your office there.
Yeah.
There you go. Couple
Next door.
of questions there as well, guys. Lisa Novak wants to know where's Forbes. Tell the city folk where Forbes is.
Okay, we're about 4.5 hours away from Sydney. You sort of come out via Orange, and yeah, we're about an hour out of Orange. So really good location. Everything's here that you need. So yeah, it's a great place to, I guess, if you're looking for a tree change, couldn't do better.
Yeah, I had it on the map if people saw the distance from DY, so I had that on there if people want to scroll back.
Yeah, well, Michael, we're on the Newell Highway between Melbourne and Brisbane, of course. As Michelle said, we're west of Orange. So if you're living in Forbes and you want to go for a holiday, you can go up through Merriwar, Dubbo, Merriwar to the north coast, or you can go down through Yass down to the south coast, Bateman's Bay, Maria, and Narooma. And it's also reasonably good striking distance of Sydney. So we're sort of central, right in the middle of the state.
And just put, also, how long have you? Luke said, how long have you both lived in Forbes? Are you born and bred? Moved there?
Born and bred.
Well, I was born and bred here, and I spent several years in real estate at North Sydney. Then I came back and started the business here 43 years ago. So I said to my employer at the time, he said, I don't believe we'd like you to stay. And I said, look, I'd like to have a go and crack on my own. And financially, Forbes was about the only place I could afford to do it. So I sort of started in a tin shed, for want of a better word, 43 years ago. And I thought if I'd see I go for 4 or 5 years, if it doesn't work out financially and the way I want it to go, I'll head back to the city. But things sort of took off from day one, and we've been very successful and very happy with what we've done and doing presently in Forbes. So there's no need to, if it's ain't broke, don't fix it sort of thing. So we're very, very pleased and very happy to be here. And I'm looking forward to trying to get up to the 50-year mark, hopefully.
How good. Well, quick. Someone's asked, what's your 12-month forecast? And I wouldn't mind adding another question onto that as well, Michelle. What's the last year brought that you didn't expect, good or bad, besides low stock levels? Sort of just, I don't know, it could be on a personal level with how business owners have acted, the community come together, not come together. What's sort of something that you just was a bit like, oh, or great?
Okay, well, I've got to say, like, we've only really experienced lockdowns in the last couple of weeks, and it's great to see Forbes supporting Forbes. So, the little restaurants and cafes and coffee shops, they're doing their takeaway, and everyone's trying to support local where we can. The local boutiques and shops, they're all online at the moment. So, supporting them where we can. I guess real estate wise, it's just been incredible. Like, I've been doing this for 21 years and I've never seen anything like the last 12 months. So the way things are, I guess it will continue. So at the moment, everything looks very positive still, even with all these shutdowns, which we really haven't experienced.
Are buyers able to secure property, even at the sometimes when we're experiencing, the market is so good, great for sellers, but some people forget about the buyers, and a lot of them are getting crushed with doing research on properties and not getting. Do you think you have a good balance at the moment, or are buyers getting hurt a little bit? Should they speak with a buyer's agent?
Well, I think we don't really have buyer's agents out here. Yep. Your real estate agent does the lot. So, but what I would say is they need to be finance ready. We're not used to that out here. We can usually, take our time. You can't do it in this market. You've got to be ready to go. Wow. So that would be my biggest thing. A lot of people go, oh, well, I need to I've got pre-approval, but I need to, they're 2 weeks down the track, too late. They've got to be ready to go.
Okay.
Well, I think there's...
your tech. Sorry, Michael.
No, you're right, mate. Well, I was just going to say, the last 12 months, 18 months, there's been a big turnaround too in what the media have been reporting in the papers. About 18 months ago, real estate was on the nose; it was going to crash, as you might remember, and it's done anything but it's gone the other way. So, most of the stories you read in all the newspapers and financial papers are positive about real estate, and I think the other thing that people are buying real estate for is security. So they feel good when they own something that's tangible. They can go and look at it, or a block of ground, or a unit, whether it be Dewar or a house in Forbes. It's something tangible they can look at and makes them feel good. The other thing that in country New South Wales and towns like Forbes, a lot of people can borrow money to purchase a residential property or even investment property, and a lot of the time their repayments are less than what they would have to pay current market rent for that property. So it's really a no-brainer that if you can buy a property and you're going to finish up with owning an asset at the end of the day, it's much better than paying rent. But at the end of the day, you just keep paying the rent and finish up with nothing. So there's all those things, those combination things have come together and made the real estate market very, very strong. And it's happening in Sydney too, as you've reported numerous times about even though prices have gone up, things are still saleable, and the people can obtain finance, and they're obviously better off to purchase than rent.
Great, I got a question. Lisa's asked, what do you think will happen to the regional properties once international travel opens up? Because I've had that with my physio was looking to buy a property in a tourist destination. She's like, it's great. And I'm like, yes, but keep in mind, no one can travel outside the country. So they're forced to go there. You should look at the figures maybe 2 years ago. Are you seeing your transition and increase from people coming out of Forbes buying in from Sydney? Is it more of a whim tour, like travel, or are they setting down roots like this is retirement? So do you think you may be a little insulated from the international travel, or do you think you'll cop a bit?
Look, a lot of people that come out from the metropolitan area to purchase do so because they're limited with what they can purchase in Sydney money-wise.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do one, they're looking probably 1.2 or 1.3 or 4 million for a really nice unit, where they can probably buy 3 or 4 good properties in Forbes for that price. So they're not looking so much for the people that come out here, the capital gain. We've found over the years they're looking for the income stream to support their lifestyle. So they might be, people who've retired or going to retire, and they just want that cash flow. They do get a certain amount of capital gain, as I said before, between 20 and 25% in the last 12 months. And I think my tip is that when the international travel opens up, the Sydney market, the Melbourne market, and I suppose Australia in general, is going to be awash with buyers, people wanting to get into a good, safe country to invest their money. And it seems that, all around the world, there's a lot of money that's coming in to buy big rural properties from overseas, Americans in the UK and other countries, of course. So they're looking at somewhere to park their money and it's nice and safe and secure. And I think Australia's got that reputation. The same thing with residential. Along the northern beaches, it always, from Manly up to Palm Beach, has always gone up dramatically year after year after year. So you couldn't get a safer bet. And as you know, if you invested 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and so forth, you're going to do financially very, very well out of it. But the smaller investors are certainly heading to the country areas.
Beautiful. Michelle, what about, so Luke's asked, is that dangerous when the media is pumping up the property market or negative? Do you find sentiment really affects your area? So sort of everyone goes with how the wind blows, or do you think it's because it's a little bit longer days on market, it's a little bit more stable, or can you see a bad media article stop buyers on that Saturday?
Yeah, no. It's always been a good, solid market here, so we don't get that fluctuation at all. We've always had a good market here in Forbes. So works really well.
I feel like I've ported over to Forbes this morning. I feel like I'm in the country just talking with you guys.
I think
it was just street views, Verge. It was.
We're so
they're a little bit. I've got to say they're a little bit old, but anyway, we've had a bit of Facebook since then. But anyway,
Google doesn't prioritize.
But it doesn't. Before we sign off, I just realised when you were talking, Michael, there's 100 years of experience sitting on the screen of real estate experience at the moment between all of us. Can I ask everyone for some for 10 seconds of wisdom each before we sign out, when we decide to sign out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want your best. Give us your best shot.
Bye. You can't do better than real estate.
Beautiful.
Just give it
Well, I think, gentlemen, if you enjoy what you're doing in real estate, the most successful real estate agents and most successful people in any business or industry are people that like what they're doing. And I feel blessed every time we sell a house. And I think, oh gosh, we're going to make some commission out of this. I sort of pinch myself and say, well, how lucky am I to be in this industry, as against if you were out shearing sheep or doing something manually, physically very difficult. So I feel like we're blessed.
Beautiful. Gross yields, Luke asked, I believe we touched, I remember last time, are they still very similar? Residential 4 to 6%, commercial 6 to 8%. Is that sort of the yield at the moment still?
Yes. That sums it up.
Next time, let's get a tour. Yeah, we could. I thought my street view was a pretty good tour of the town. Showed the pub, showed Subway, showed your office.
Yes.
Great show, team. Thanks, Luke. I think it's a sort of a wrap. But I know there's whenever something bad happens, like obviously the pandemic, there's a lot of good that comes out of it. And I think seeing how happy people are with having that push to get out of, you could call the rat race, whatever push they needed or whatever held them back, sort of a lot of people moving to Central Coast, moving to northern beaches, or moving further, Wollongong, Forbes, or even out of New South Wales. I think it's going to be very good for a lot of people, and I know it's injected a lot in the out of areas from just this CBD.
We've lost a lot of people out of the beaches, guys. We've lost a lot of people that have gone north a couple of hours, south a couple of hours, and that's been confronting. You know, when you hear, I'm going to Coffs, I'm going to Queensland, I'm going south. But at the same time, we're getting an influx of people, which has been great. So we're getting people coming from, you know, whether it be sort of Neutral Bay, Mossman, St. Ives, you know, Bondi or whatever. So we're getting people coming in for a sea change, tree change, and we're losing people. But that's okay because it's a bit of churn.
Perfect. Yeah. I think that's a wrap. Anything else, Michelle, Michael, you want to add to that? Or just
No.
We're good.
I think all our advices would be stick with real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not biased at all, but
No,
because we're saying buy, don't sell. So it's like we're almost saying the opposite. So it's genuine, and that's what we do. So thank you, everyone. It's good to have you back on. I put the link to
Now,
our
if you want to get to Forbes, there's behind Michelle. Yeah, Michelle, behind Michelle's ref.com.au. That's if you guys are looking for real estate. Either way, Michelle turns, that's where to how to find these guys. So Google them. And I'm sure Michael put a link already there. So, no, guys, thanks for your time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks once again for having us, Mark and Mike.